and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour we are going to be world travelers traveling to Israel. And if you tuned into our previous show, we started to travel and we only got about halfway through, so here's the sequel. But before we get into traveling and before we get into all of the information, the topic of the evening, I would like to thank the crew for this evening. We have Chris Flaherty and Corey McNeil, who are staff members here at BCAT, making sure that everything runs smoothly, including the show. And we also have Jolie Atwood, who's a volunteer who gave up her Wednesday evening to come and make sure that everything also runs smoothly. And thank you, Jolie, for pinch hitting as director this evening, because our usual director, Colleen Moore, is our guest for this evening, whom you will see, well, there she is, but still have a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. Last but not least, I would like to thank my husband, Paul, for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Hopefully the kids have exhausted themselves during their summer vacation and are in bed early. If you would like to, we are not live this evening, so we will not have a phone call, but we do have little flies in here. But if you'd like to send me an email, you can always email me at talk@bcattv.org. So if you have a question for our guest or for a suggestion for a future topic, feel free to drop me a note. So, as already anticipated, I would like to invite or introduce Colleen Moore, Director Extraordinaire and World Traveler. She's got a lot of stamps in her passport now. Who, back in February, was it?
It was in February.
You spent a couple of weeks traveling throughout Israel,
Yep.
or pretty much throughout,
Mm-hmm.
tracking the places mentioned in certain parts of the Bible and kind of comparing historical accuracy with the legend that is written, or the stories that are written in the Bible.
Yes.
Cool. Now, just a little refresher.
Okay.
How did you get involved and why did you decide to take this trip?
Well, we at my church, we support financially a Bible college in the city of Boston. It's Boston Baptist College, and they take a study trip every year. And every fourth year, they take a trip to Israel. And it's not typically open to non-students or non-faculty people,
Okay.
but they opened it up to the churches that support them this year.
Oh, excellent. You'll sign me up, sign me up.
I know, really. I was very excited when I heard that. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, I didn't even think about the climate, not the temperature, but like the trouble that's been going on in the area. It wasn't even an issue with me. I just wanted to. I just wanted to go and see Israel. I mean, my pastor and his wife went 4 years ago.
And you had never been there before?
Never been there before. I mean, it was very exciting, and as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, I'm going. I don't care what I have to do to get there. I will go there.
Excellent.
You know, so.
Now, how big of a group was it?
Well, we took when we all get off the plane and everything, we had 2 tour buses.
Wow.
Pretty
So
much
that's like
full.
Almost
So,
100 people.
Pretty much, yeah, close to that. And they are very traveled people at this Bible college. They travel every year. They know what they're doing when they take groups of people around. So they had us well organized. The adults were told that to plan on, go kind of stuff, not to, plan on leisurely, touring.
This is not a vacation. This
is a study trip, and we're guests with the students, and we have to try to keep up with the students.
Okay.
So that was our goal. We had to keep up with those kids.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, you had an amazing trip. I mean, you started telling me a lot about some of the places you visited. So let's jump right in, because we do have a lot of photos that I want to hear about your trip.
Okay.
And then if there's time at the end, we can talk a little bit more about, future plans for travel and, interesting stories and stuff. So where did we leave off? Okay,
well,
I think
we kind of jumped around a little bit,
Okay.
but the majority of things, I think we could probably, get a start in Jericho.
Okay. So the whole story of Joshua fighting the Battle of Jericho and the
Yeah.
walls and everything.
Oh,
so.
you know the story and the song.
I just remember the song, Joshua.
The song.
Battle of
Yeah,
Jericho.
it's a very popular song. Kids love that one, and I did too. And I used to teach Sunday school. I love that song too, because well, in Israel, there's because it's such a very old country. It's got a lot of history. You know, these cities that we're reading about were actual cities, but over the course of time, they were populated and then they weren't populated, and you know, just because the earth does what the earth does, it begins to cover things over.
Okay.
So there's things, there are places in Israel all over the place there. If you are driving or riding around and you happen to see a mound, it kind of looks not quite like a mountain, but like a mound of dirt or a mound of something.
Okay.
That's called a tell, and it's probably something that hasn't been excavated, and it might be a city under there.
Oh, wow.
Some kind of
okay.
civilization place.
So
where
when you say
people
excavated, do you mean like archaeological digs?
Yes,
Okay, so some of this stuff
archaeology.
has been
Yeah.
archaeologically uncovered.
live. Exactly.
But are there some areas that just were always there?
Yep, there's
Okay.
we ran across places that were very well excavated, and then
Okay.
we did come across a place or two that we were told were tells, but they weren't excavated.
Okay.
So there's still quite a bit of history that needs to be uncovered in that country,
Okay.
and you know it's somebody else's country, so to get permission to go there and dig,
yeah.
it's involved. So the one place that we did go that we got, well, we saw a couple places. The most prominent place we got to see was Jericho.
Okay.
Jericho, like you said, it was one of the first battles that the Israelites fought when they were given the Promised Land.
Okay.
They had to go in and defeat Jericho, and it was made. They had to make a statement because Jericho was a walled city. It was a fortress.
Okay.
They were well protected. They were just a small group of people. They didn't have weapons. The only weapon they had was God. And God told them how to fight the battle. And as the song goes, they were
had to walk
marching around the city. And at certain points in their marching, they were supposed to play music. They were supposed to shout. They did all these things, you know, under God's direction. And the last time around, they were supposed to shout, sound off a trumpet, and then the walls were supposed to just fall down. And it sounds like, you know, pretty like amazing story, something that you probably wouldn't. I'm sure the people in Jericho were just on the top of the wall saying like, what are these people doing? Keep walking around if you want, but you know, there's not much you're going to do here.
Yeah. Oh,
So
you silly people just
those
walking around in
crazy people, I know,
circles.
we're not
Yeah.
going to, then they weren't afraid of them at all.
Okay.
So then when they did what God told them to do, the walls fell. Well, archaeology wants to say, you know, they want to know what really happened. So they're looking for facts.
Right.
So they go in and they excavate. They don't take everything away from the site. They only uncover enough for you to see what was there.
Oh, okay.
Now, if they uncover everything, then the elements destroy what was there.
Oh, okay.
So they only uncover enough for you to see the structure a little bit
Okay.
and stuff. But our guide was really awesome. He told us all about the excavation.
Now, is he from Israel?
He's
or
an
was
American.
He, okay.
He's an American, and
From the college, or?
he moved his whole family out there. He's a young family, and
Okay.
he's been out there, I think he said 8 to 10 years
Wow.
now.
Okay.
So he's been out there excavating, and he works with students from universities and stuff. They come out
Okay.
and work with him. But one of the cool things, he showed us a couple of things. I don't have a picture of this, but he showed us where the wall, the debris from the wall.
Okay.
He said, now you see here the bricks are flat. If they tumbled, if they were like
They
pushed
just-
over or
okay.
something, they would be kind of on top of each other. But what he showed us was a flat like layer of bricks. It's just
Wow.
laying on the ground.
Hmm.
And he said this is evidence that, you know, the wall fell. It didn't
Okay.
crumble.
So it
over
wasn't
time.
like worn and
Right,
you know just
right.
abandoned and
Right.
it.
Fell over, just like God said, just like the Bible
Wow.
said. So I mean, that was a really cool thing to see that and to
Yeah.
know that it happened. This is how it happened. They have solid evidence that this is how it happened. There's a lot of archaeologists that are not Bible believing people, and so to them,
There are a lot of
it's-
people in the world
it's-
that are not Bible believing people.
Right. So to them, it's evidence that a wall fell, not that it's evidence that God's word is true.
Okay.
So, but I feel like that this is evidence that God's word is true.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another picture that I can pull up. Julie, if you can pull up number 36 and just hang there for a couple minutes. In the picture, what you see there is a side wall.
Okay.
It's part of the original wall of the city.
Hmm.
And what you see is that light colored spot in the middle, and then there's some black on top.
Yeah.
Told us that's called a burn line. And part of the story of Jericho was that God ordered that the city be burned.
Oh,
And
okay.
what you see there is the burn line.
Hmm.
And it's several layers of debris that was burned,
Okay.
on top of that burn line.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was a great big wall, and there's evidence of that.
Okay, and a big city behind it too. So when it burned, there was a lot of debris
A
that
lot
would
of
fall
ash,
on
a
top
lot of things
yeah.
that it left layers, and that
okay.
was called the burn line. And he said that is another piece of evidence that
Okay.
they can see that the city of Jericho was burned, just like the
Okay.
Bible said that it was. So they're very confident that they have a really good dig here, and
Okay.
that it's very
Neat.
very cool that it talks
Now-
about the story.
Backing up a little bit,
Yep.
we just saw some pretty hard evidence that this seemed to be exactly as it was explained in the Bible. On our last show, you were talking about the different levels of accuracy. There were like warm spots and hot spots, and
Oh,
about
this would be a white hot.
white hot.
They
Okay,
are-
can
they
you
are
can you just
definite.
tell us what the 3 layers were again?
They had a general connection.
Okay,
like,
that's what it was.
Whenever we went someplace, it would be like a general connection would be something where it was just in the general vicinity, something like this might have
Okay.
happened. A warmer connection would be like something happened here, and it might not be in this cave, but it was in a cave like this.
Okay.
So, and then there's another one, the last one would be white hot connection, where they are very, very sure that what we are either
The
looking at
walls
or
fell down,
touching
and
is exactly either the location or the artifact is in fact something that was it was definitely this is what it was. So there were they're pretty sure that based on the geography and the there's other like historical books and people that write about the area, like Josephus.
okay.
He was one that wrote a lot about the area, and he probably mentioned something about Jericho. It was a big city, and location-wise, they're pretty sure, based on the geography, that this is the site for Jericho. It was a big city, so I mean, they're only partially excavating, and they have a lot of people that have excavated it over the years.
okay.
So they're just continuing to do it.
Wow,
Other people pick
okay.
up the torch, and they, continue to dig.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay. So moving right along.
moving right along. Well, we went from Jericho
Okay.
into, I guess my next pictures are from 37 and 38, Julie. So if you want to find like 37, that would be good. This is basically called the Jezreel Valley, and this is modern Israel, so you have highways and things down there. To the left of what we're looking at would be modern day Nazareth, where Jesus was born.
Okay.
And to the right is another mountain called Megiddo, or in another time in the book of Revelation, it talks about a battle that will happen called Armageddon.
Okay.
And Armageddon is an alliteration or some kind of another way of saying Mount Megiddo. It's another way,
Okay.
but it's in the valley. The Mount Megiddo is on the right, and it forms this valley, and that's where the Battle of Armageddon, the end of all time, happens. It happens in this valley.
Wow.
And they're pretty sure that this is exactly the location. I mean, it's a valley. It's going to happen here. There's a lot of details that go along with it, but
Hopefully it won't happen in my lifetime. I'm pretty happy
let's
right
hope the Lord comes back before all of that, if we're not there. But here I am in front of a stretching highway
Okay.
that leads out to the left of my shoulder. There would be
Wait,
Nazareth.
our left or your left?
Over where the lighted highway
okay.
part, the lit part of the highway.
Okay.
That would be like where Nazareth was, and it still is. But Jesus was born there. He grew up there, And we were told that, like, I mean, if you're up there and you see how close Nazareth is to this mountain where we're standing, it's really not that far.
No.
And you figure your average teenage kid is going to want to hike up here and hang out up in this mountain and stuff. And they feel that this would be something that a teenager in those days probably would have done. Jesus probably spent a lot of time on this mountain, overlooking everything, knowing what he knows, that future events are happening down here.
Right.
So it was this is where the Jezreel Valley is, and the site of where Armageddon will be fought. It was breathtaking. It was beautiful. It's very fertile, green, beautiful.
It looks,
everything you can think of.
like to our left, it's like very, very bright.
Yeah, it's
vivid.
green. You can see where the farmland kind of separates and stuff. So I mean, it's definitely a beautiful place. Some place where you could find some solitude if you wanted to.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure Jesus spent a lot of time there, close to his home.
Neat. So what else you got?
I got, let's see.
What else you got?
Let's see. We can go to like 39 and 40.
Okay.
It's
Mount Arbel?
That's Mount Arbel.
Arbel, sorry.
That's okay. It's we learned a lot of different ways to say stuff. I mean, some ways you think is how something is said.
Okay.
The local people maybe say it different. Like Masada. I say Masada. Our tour guide kept calling it Metsada.
Oh,
Metsada. So they had a lot of different ways of saying things. But this is Mount Arbel. And basically this is where Jesus commissioned the disciples to go into all the world.
Okay.
And from a lot of different vantage points, you can see all the directions that you could possibly go in their world. This is their world. So when they look at this, they're looking at the roads that are heading out towards trade routes where they go further to the east and all these other places. So when he said, go out into all the world, it was the perfect
you go
place
that way,
to
you
tell
go that
them
way.
to do that. And they understood exactly what he was talking about. Now,
And what body of water is that?
That is the Sea of Galilee. It is the most beautiful body of water. It's very beautiful. It's clean lake water. It's beautiful.
Lots of fresh fish.
Lots of fish. A lot of things happened on that water.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it was just just to be up in that vantage point to see it.
Wow.
And everything, a lot of the things that happened in Jesus's short lifetime here happened on that coast in this area. So he spent all of his time right in this area.
Okay.
So I mean,
because the Bible, I'm not really versed completely, but the Bible pretty much just covers his 3 years of public life.
Right, he was.
Because it really, we talk about when he's, 12, and then boom, all of a sudden he's 30.
Yeah, he was like 33 when he started his ministry, and then he was only 3 years later before he was crucified. So yeah, his lifetime was very short, and you don't know a lot about it. You know about when he was born, you know about when he was 12, and then after that, it's all training. It's growing up and becoming a man.
Right.
And we just don't have a lot of that history. You can see the kind of man he is, and the people, his parents, who raised him and stuff. So you kind of know those things about him. But it's
there are a lot of missing pieces.
There are a lot of pieces that are missing, and maybe not pieces that are totally necessary, just to understand him. But there's definitely some gaps in his life. But the 3 years that we did get to see are pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean that's
and just seeing on the pictures, it's like, wow, okay, now it all makes sense to me.
When you look out at that, it's like, you see the highway and all of those things, but like this is where he would go, and I mean, when I go on a mountain or when I look at the ocean, your mind, travels. It goes to where you wish you could be, or you dream about stuff. And I think when he was younger, he probably did a lot of that dreaming and thinking about things up there. So it's definitely something that we all were just like blown away when we got to see it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just looking at your pictures.
Yeah, well, we got to see quite a bit of stuff. The next picture just is it's just a little peek at Galilee. It's a little closer.
Okay.
So 41 would be good right now, Julie, if you want to throw that in there. There's a nice close shot of
Ooh.
Galilee. We were on the shore. We went to, there was a beachfront.
Okay.
Not like our beachfronts. There's no condos or anything around it.
Now, was it like sandy beach or was it like rocky beach? Or
There was quite a bit.
or was it just like grassy area and boom, water?
Well, it is a lake, so
okay.
there's sandy parts, and then as you get closer to the sides, there's some rocky parts,
Okay.
and then you've got these nice rushes where there's some vegetation, just kind of flowy and pretty and everything. So it's it's very big. It's a big
Oh, yeah.
body
Huge.
of water, and the water is fresh. I took a video. I didn't have the video today,
No,
but
that's okay.
but I did take a quick video because I wanted to watch the water come
water,
in,
yeah,
and
wow.
I got the audio from it. It's just to see it, to touch it. I like to touch water when I go to see it. It just kind
Now,
of
were you able
connects.
to go to that water and?
Yeah, we were right on the
Okay.
shore. We could go in. I touched it. I like to kind of touch it, the water, when I'm seeing a new body of water. I just like to connect with it a little
Yeah.
bit. And it was very pretty, nice and clean, and it just had a nice, it was just kind of rushing a little bit in
Okay.
over rocks and stuff. So, I mean, it's very, like, inviting water. It's nice. So, I mean, I was very happy to see Galilee. And I don't have any pictures of our trip on the Galilee because it was kind of like we were on a boat, and it was a...
Oh, okay. So you actually did go out. Okay.
Yeah, they have a museum there for the Sea of Galilee, and they have
Okay.
excavated some boats. They have some hulls of like
Really?
old boats. Yeah, it's encased. Like, I don't think they actually took it out of what they found it in, or they might
Okay.
have like
It
filled.
wasn't completely excavated, but there was enough
I
to.
think they like poured something around it to kind of preserve it,
Oh,
but
okay.
they let some of it stay out, but they preserved the rest, and it's inside the museum, and they would say that it would be like a boat that
Okay.
they would have used in those days.
Oh,
And the
okay.
place that picture I had was taken in Galilee. They said that this would have been a place, because it was kind of rocky, rugged, where the guys that were fishermen might have come to mend their nets
Oh, okay.
and possibly shake things out or get things cleaned
Like
up.
prep to.
And they think that this is probably this is not a white hot, but it's definitely a warm, that they think that like this might have been a location where
Okay.
Jesus would have called Simon Peter
Okay.
and his brother into ministry, where they would have said, this is where he would have probably said, I'll make you fishers of men,
Right.
follow me. And that's where they would have
Put your net
gathered.
out the other side of the boat.
That was an amazing story too, that with the fish. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But on the boat, there's a guy that they've gone to before, but he has two boats, and they take you out just on the Sea of Galilee.
Okay.
Just a tour around it and see, the water, and just get a close up kind of feel how it feels to be on the lake
Oh, okay.
and stuff. So I mean, he's a singer and a performer, so he would sing songs for us, and just as we're just kind of floating around and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
It was neat. It was a really cool tour. Not much to take pictures of, but it
Well,
was
it's water.
it's just the being on the Sea of Galilee like Jesus
Yeah.
was and stuff. And it was a beautiful day. There was some weather sort of in the area that day.
Okay.
Not major stuff, just a little sprinkly, but it was kind of like overcast. So you kind of get the feel of being a fisherman. Kind of like it's not always perfect out there. So yeah, so we did have a good trip on the Sea of Galilee. It was really sad to not be able to see it anymore after that. But
Now, where did it take place in your trip?
that I
Because
believe
it sounds like it would have been a nice
it's
ending.
it wasn't ending. It
Yeah.
wasn't ending. We ended in a different part. We ended actually more in Jerusalem.
Okay.
It was closer to.
middle.
It was kind of near Easter. Our trip was before Easter, so it's kind of interesting to be in that area. Closer to Easter
Okay.
because we saw the end. But when we were leaving the Sea of Galilee, the bus stopped for us. They had a couple. We all just pulled over, and they said, "This is just a freebie, But if anybody wants to get out and take a picture, go ahead and do it." So they said that we were in the area of the Gadarenes, and
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
it's a valley. It's a place where people lived,
Okay.
and there was a couple of mountain peaks that kind of led down towards the Sea of Galilee.
Okay.
And there's a story, let me see if I can find it real quick. The Gadarenes was in Mark. If you don't mind, I'll read you a little bit of it so you can get a sense for where this is at.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so basically the area of the Gadarenes, there was a man there. He lived in the tombs. He was called the maniac of Gadara.
Yeah, if you lived in the tombs, that would kind of make you
people were scared of him. Yeah, they were scared of him. They thought he was possessed. This in their day, this was something that wasn't uncommon. But he had a reputation for cutting himself. They tried to chain him down, and he broke chains. And he was just a very strong, scary person. And he needed to meet Jesus. And so I'll just read you a little bit of how this story goes. And they came over onto the other side of the sea into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who was dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and bound with fetters and chains, and he would pluck them asunder, and the fetters broke in pieces, and neither could any man tame him. And he always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. And when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him. The rest of the story is he confronted the demons that were inside the guy, and the demons begged him not to destroy them, but to send them into a herd of swine that was feeding out in the field. Okay. So Jesus agreed. He sent the demons into the pigs.
Those are pretty smart demons.
Yeah, they ended up drowning in the water anyway, but they weren't maybe too smart.
They didn't think the whole thing through.
They did not. They didn't think it all the way through. But yeah, the pigs went over the mountain. They drowned, and the man was whole. He was in his right mind again. So it was a really great story.
Hopefully, he found a better place to live.
I think he did. Well, actually, Jesus sent him back into the tombs to go talk to his friends. To get tell his friends about Jesus and what he could do for them. So he went back. So it was just a little quick stop, but it was kind of neat to kind of put the story to it. So that was the Gadarene area. Jolie, if you go to picture number 44, and this is a picture from something called Tel Dan. Okay. Remember we talked about
active. It looks like an archaeological dig.
It is, and it's been dug. It's been dug for a while.
They're still working on it at all?
They probably are in some places. When we first approached this, there's a lot of old signs of war. Not old war, modern war. Okay. Remember in the 40s they were fighting. I think, I'm not sure, I'm terrible with my history, but there was a war going on between, people in Israel and their other places. And so there were a lot of debris, like there were old rusted trucks and dugouts where modern day kind of war stuff. So it led up with that kind of thing because this was a strategic location. It wasn't too strategic for Dan. Dan was one of the tribes of Israel, and he was actually given land in a different part of the promised land, but he didn't like that part. So he moved his family. He
didn't like that part.
He moved his family up into the mountains where this site is. Okay. He chose this area because it was cool. It wasn't hot. It wasn't near the water. So he liked it better up here. So the bad part about is for Dan was he was meant to be somewhere else, and every time the children of Israel were attacked, that is where they came in every time, and Dan got obliterated like more times than any other place in their whole country and their family. So his place was constantly getting whacked because that's where the enemies
should have listened and stayed where you were placed.
Exactly, he should have just stayed where God wanted him to be, and if he had been where he was, he could have helped protect the rest of the children of Israel a lot better, because he was placed closer to the coast. Oh, okay. And the Philistines.
So where he should have been.
Yeah, I had a picture of that. I think I eliminated it by accident.
Whoops.
But it was
You'll
similar.
just have to go back.
Yeah, Dan was originally the reason I had that picture was we went over to the site. They told us that this is the original location where Dan was supposed to be, and then he told us all about how they were unfortunately attacked so many times because of their choice to live up in the hills. But Samson, I don't know if you know the story of Samson and Delilah. He was the man with the hair and the great strength. He was also a Danite, and he lived in that little area, and that's why it was significant why we were seeing it then. But then he also pointed out that this is where Dan, his family, was supposed to be. Samson happened to be living there and stuff. It was just a point of interest because this is where Dan should have been. It would have helped protect them against the Philistines, and it would have put them in a better position strategically if Dan was where he was supposed to be. So Dan learned a hard lesson.
Yeah.
But, so I mean.
Well, hopefully he learned that lesson.
Yeah, and if, Jolie, could you go back to number 44 real quick? I just want to kind of point something out. In this tell, it's like Jericho. It was a city where people lived. On the stairs where the kids are sitting right now are the stairs to the beginning of their temple. So we got to sit like on the stairs of their temple, and when you come up, it's like the temple is gone, but the stairs are still there. So the kids, we all get to have like a short lesson right there on the stairs. I think that's where he told us about Dan, how he should have been somewhere else. But we got to take a little walk through all of that and see all the things that they've opened up and dug out. So that was pretty neat to see this. Yeah.
Cool.
So Julie, if you can go to picture number 45 and 46. Start with 45. Okay, so when we left Tell Dan, we were just driving down the road, and they go, "Oh, let's pull over." So there was stuff like this all the time. It was like pullovers that we just didn't expect to see. So if you remember,
you think it's spontaneous, but they probably do it all the time.
They might have known about it. On this roadside, they were digging the highway, and they excavated by accident this tomb. And it's not uncommon for them to cut tombs out of a rock or a side of a hill, and in stone. But this was similar. They pointed it out because they thought that this could have been like a tomb that Jesus could have been buried in. It had a stone, and it rolled. It had like a gully where they would roll the stone back and forth.
Like a track almost.
Almost like a track, yeah. So Jolie, let's go to the next picture, number 46. I think that's inside the tomb.
Ooh.
So inside the tomb, they have chambers, for each person that would have been in there. And I think what they told us is that there's a part where in the Bible where Abraham, it says that he wanted to, it might have been Abraham, I could be wrong on Abraham, but he wanted his bones to be taken to the promised land. He didn't want his bones to be left somewhere. And they explained to us that they would leave the people in the tombs until their bones were just left, until it was just bones. And then they would gather the bones and keep them, like as a family thing. Like they would store them in some kind of container, and it would be like their family
kind of
thing.
like what some people do with cremated.
Ashes, similar, something like that, yeah. So they would save the bones, and when he said, "I want my bones to be taken somewhere," that's what he was referring to. So I thought that was kind of interesting to kind of get a look in there.
And I also didn't know that the tombs, hearing the story of Jesus being laid in the tomb, I didn't realize it was like
chambered.
Yeah,
it's rooms. That actually the one that hopefully we get to this, the part where we...
well, I hope so.
When we get to the garden tomb, the garden tomb was kind of interesting. It actually had a weeping chamber, so people could go in and weep. Then they had, chambers for the bodies to be placed, and they think that was the actual tomb that he was placed in after he was on the cross. So I'll go on to picture number 47. This is Caesarea Maritime. It was built by Herod the Great, and it's basically...
Like Herod the Great was like the Herod.
He was Herod, yeah. He was the Herod.
Okay, I didn't know there was more than one.
He took care of the province out here. He was in charge of it, and at this time. And this whole thing was built so it would look like little Rome. They wanted it to... He wanted the people in Rome, or he wanted Caesar to think he was on his side, that he was like the man,
Okay.
Caesar's buddy. And so he made Caesarea Maritime to resemble a lot of the things that are in Rome. So this would be like the Colosseum,
Okay.
smaller, or like the amphitheater.
Right.
So where they
Okay.
would, do their thing with the theater and oration and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, let's go to the next picture, 48. This is it's a marble bathtub.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
everything has been kind of uncovered, so the structures are not around it anymore.
Okay.
But this would have been a bathhouse, where they would have a bath.
Okay.
But it's a marble, it's total marble.
Wow.
And it's bathhouse. So let's go to 49. This is the aqueduct. This
Okay.
is the aqueduct that would bring water from Mount Carmel, I think is where it starts. The water that runs off from Mount
Okay.
Carmel. They had it set up with two troughs, and the
Okay.
water would come down the aqueduct and feed the city.
Oh,
Maritime.
wow.
It would
Okay.
bring the fresh water there. And I've read that like every mile or something, it has a 13% grade reduction, so
Okay.
it keeps coming down, brings the water. Let's go to the next picture. I think it's just another.
Just the engineering feats of thousands and thousands of years ago, where they were able to figure out, okay, it has to be this grade,
They
this
were
13%.
smart. They were really
Yeah.
smart. They knew their stuff. So this is just another picture closer to the aqueduct, but what you're looking at is the Mediterranean. That's the first time I've ever been to the Mediterranean.
Wow.
And it was actually cold. It wasn't like as warm as I was expecting.
Like
but
the water, or like the
water
the air
itself.
around it?
No,
Okay.
the water itself was a little cool. You did get used to it pretty quick, so I guess it's probably not that cold. But for me, it felt a little cold. But let's go to the next picture, number 50, I think. If that's not 50. Is that?
that
Oh,
is
that's
50.
50.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
all right.
50.
So that would be like the Mediterranean Sea. If we
very
go,
blue.
yeah, it is beautiful. I get some really nice seashells from there. So we go to from here. We can go into 51. These are just an example of some streets in the old city.
Oh, okay.
When we went to Jerusalem,
The
there
old
were
city
so
of
many
Jerusalem,
of us that we had to stay in 3 hostels.
Wow.
And the hostels are just those small,
Yeah,
like
like
kind of
dormitory
inexpensive
type.
dormitory
Yeah.
settings and stuff. So this one is a road that
So
led
like-
up to the hostel where I stayed.
Okay. So with the walls there, I'm just kind of wondering, it wasn't underground. It was like street level, and it was just the city
old
walls.
city. This is the old
Okay.
city. I was so happy to be staying in the old city because it's like
cool.
everybody else. The other hotels were in old places too. One of them was close to the Wailing Wall, which
Okay.
was
We'll
pretty
get to.
awesome. You will get to that hopefully. But this is an example of what the streets look like. They're very narrow.
Okay.
They have like one side looks
Now,
lighter
is there
than
like a
the other.
ramp almost?
Almost, but they didn't have a lot of it was not meant for like things to roll on.
Okay.
It was meant for like being on foot. There were flat parts and then there were drop downs, but then sometimes in the middle I think that they might have thought about rolling things because there
Okay.
were like portions of it that were flat. And it was
okay.
about the width of a cart. So like if you were pushing a cart, you
Okay.
could kind of roll your cart down those little flat
Okay.
parts. So like that would be like a typical street.
Okay. Because I'm
you
also
know.
wondering, like, if they had animals. I don't know what kind of animals, but like mules carrying their.
Yeah, I
their
don't know.
goods and
There was a
stuff.
lot of stairs when we
Okay.
first went into the old city. We had to bring our own luggage through, and we had to go down a bunch of all these stairs, and everybody's got their rolly stuff.
Everybody, yeah.
And
'Cause it's too heavy to
it
carry.
was terrible. We were just the bags were falling over. Everybody would. I mean, it was just like really hard to get through the city. It was like we're all running.
Now the
through it.
natives are going, hey, look at the tourists.
Yeah, I know. Look at the tourists, right? And they're all grabbing their stuff and pulling it in away from the street because their markets are out in the street. Like they have their shops, and then their stuff kind of is out, like
okay.
so everybody can see it enough to buy stuff.
Okay.
So, if we go to number 52, I can't remember what that picture actually looks like. I know I wrote it down, but if we go to 52, okay, this is outside of the Jaffa Gate. And it's
okay.
a wall from the old city of Jerusalem. So if you were to it's the old city, so it's further out. There's another section, but
okay.
inside, this is the inner part where the wall would have originally been. This is the original
So
wall.
are you inside?
We are outside of it
You're
right
outside,
now.
okay.
Looking
and the
in.
wall goes
The wall goes around
Okay.
the city,
So
but
we
then
can't see
we can't
the
see.
old city. Okay.
It's inside of the walls, the old city,
okay.
in there. So let's see. We already talked about.
Well, even like old Quebec up in Canada, they have the old city. and
Yeah,
the
yeah, I know.
fortified,
It's
so-
like it's not uncommon that, like, you have something that's already a structure, but then
Right.
they want to improve on it or protect it more, so they add a little something to it. They keep the old but add some new, and that's a lot of Jerusalem is like that.
Oh wow.
They have
okay.
some. They definitely preserve their old, and they actually one of the cool things the kids got to do. I didn't get to do it, but they got to go to an excavation
Oh wow.
near the
yeah.
city of Jerusalem and on the old side, and I guess there was some construction that was done inside the city, and I'm not sure if it was the Palestinians, but they live in there too, and they excavated stuff and they just took the dirt and threw it over the wall when they were done, right? So
Okay.
everybody's like going like they're fighting over whose dirt it is. Because it's like because you could find stuff that's
Wow.
artifacts, and it could
Okay.
belong to a Palestinian like background, or it could be something that was significant to the Jews. So they have this pile of dirt, and you can, for some money, you can go out there and help them sift. And if you find stuff, you get to take pictures of
Oh,
it. You
wow.
recognized
Okay.
and stuff. The kids got to do that. That was
Wow.
yeah. The day that there was some trouble in the city, that's when they got to do that.
Okay.
But so let's go to picture 56 and 57, Jolie.
Okay.
This is the Wailing Wall.
Okay.
This is the men's side. The wall is split up in two parts.
Okay.
Or at least this section of it. The women's side is to the right of that overhang.
Okay.
So the men's side is over here, and the women's side is very small, not super small, but smaller than the men's side, obviously.
Because it's
It's
'cause
just
it's the women's
there's
side.
so many men that they have a bigger wall.
Okay.
So this is it. I was like blown away when I saw this. You hear about it. It's just something that you hear about. I've never seen it. So you see there's a ton of distance between
Yeah,
where I'm
okay.
standing. It's like you just don't feel like you can get close to it, without like some kind of reverence. You need some kind of respect for the wall,
Okay.
because there's people. It's packed. You can't see what's in
Oh
there.
yeah, you kind of.
You can't really see, but if you were to be able to get closer to the wall, you'd see that the men's side is completely packed,
Right. Okay.
and then the women's side was pleasantly full.
Okay.
And it is kind of
Fill me in a little bit, because I've heard of the Wailing Wall, but I don't think I really know the definition or
This
the
is-
significance of it.
all right. This is the Western Wall, and it's
Okay.
supposed to be the wall,
The western wall of the city.
the Western Wall of the old city.
Okay.
So I could be wrong on this too. The significance, I think, of it is that it's close to the holy parts of the
Okay.
temple.
Okay.
It might be like it might even be a wall of the temple.
Oh,
Like
okay.
you know what I mean? So like it has that kind of significance where it's the only thing left that's like Jewish people point their house
Okay.
or their place where they pray and they focus towards the Western Wall.
Oh,
This is a
okay.
very holy place for them,
okay.
and it's really like moving to kind of see a little bit. They're praying there, and it's very solemn. The women's side, I don't know if the men's side must be the same, but when you go in there, you're not allowed to walk away with your back facing the wall.
Okay.
You have to walk backwards so that you're facing the wall. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but I always heard that they take messages and they stick it in the wall. Their prayers, they write their prayers
okay.
down, and they stick it in the wall.
I think I
And-
may have heard that.
And when I went in there, of course, it was exactly the same. It's like they had paper there, and people
Oh,
would
neat.
write stuff down. I wrote a small note. There's a picture of what the notes look like.
Cool. Okay.
Now that's on the inside of the. There's some excavation going on the original wall,
Okay.
and this is on the inside of that. But it's very similar. Any place where there's a crack or a crevice,
Okay.
they will stuff a note, and it's a prayer thing. And they told us a story. One of our guides did. It was the guy that took us on the tour in here. He said his dad, the first time he visited here, he said he put a note in the wall so that he could be there longer. like it made him feel like he was able to stay at the wall longer because he left something there, his prayer and stuff. So it was kind of neat to hear that little story that, like, you know, that it's that
It's
important.
like creating that connection.
It's so important to them that they probably dream of one day seeing it, and he got to see it. So it was kind of neat to do that. If we look, I think, all right, I got that page. I think 58 was the one we just looked at.
Okay.
Okay, so next part that we saw was the city of David.
Okay.
We went into the city of David. It's inside the old city. Everything is right in there.
Okay.
So what we're looking at is it's a portion of homes. It's like stepped, like if you were to get a good look from the bottom to the top, it's very tall, and their homes were built on the side of the mountain with these stepped stones, and their living quarters were kind of in the mountain, but in stages and steps. Like there's a nice little picture of the height of it.
Okay.
And I think the significance of it for me when they were talking about this, it reminded me of the story of David and Bathsheba.
Oh, okay.
He was being the king, would have been in the highest parts, and then everybody else would have been living in tiered structures below him.
Oh, okay.
And we often wondered how in the world did he see Bathsheba from his house, and this is how they lived like this. It was like in tiers. So when he was in his house, he would have been able to look out and see everybody's house. So when he spotted Bathsheba, that's how he saw her. And of course the story and stuff goes that he was unfaithful, or he had relations with her, and he did terrible things. It was a terrible thing for him, whatever things he did, but this is the how the houses were structured like that. So they pointed out that this was significant for them, because they knew that the structure being stepped was a definite, this is houses, this is where they lived. So they wanted to make sure that they thought that was pretty cool. I thought it was too. So inside here, this is, we had a tour with an archaeologist that this is stuff that hasn't really even been, I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for even sharing it, but it hasn't been published yet.
Okay.
It's definitely...
So it's like a work in progress.
Yeah, they've just uncovered it. It's something that they've just discovered. And our tour guide, his name was Ellie, and he was the archaeologist that discovered it. So he was allowed to bring us in and see it. So what we're looking at is basically a sacrificing area. The shapes on the floor, they were support parts for
like an
structures,
altar,
like where they would kind of support the animals as they were cleaning them. They would sacrifice the animals, but then they would also have to remove the skin and bleed it, take the blood out and stuff. So those structures they would have like structures that they would suspend the animal on and take care of it and clean it for sacrifice and all that. But those were significant. When they found those, they knew that this was an area of sacrifice. Let me just see how many pictures I have in here. So, but can you go to the next picture? I just want to see what I have. All right, this is a portion of the original wall. This is underground. The original wall was like...
Is it like graffiti or something?
No, it's mold, like moss or something.
Okay.
Because it's very moist down there. It's like you can tell.
That's just a really bright green.
You can tell that it's like under like the ground and stuff. They told us the original wall was over 150 feet high.
Wow.
And what we're looking at is now below the ground, but it was, or at one point it was not below the ground. And they showed us that the shapes of the stones are indicative of a specific period of time. Like Herod might have built stuff at this time, or somebody else would have. So
based on the shape or based on the materials?
The structure, yeah, because they I think it's a particular style of cutting and stuff. So they would know by looking at that it was in a certain era.
Okay.
Now what we're looking at here, this is outside of the wall, the old wall, and the bricks and the stones that are down are the original wall that fell, and then they repaired it. But they left the old stones there. Okay. So that's basically what those are. So we go to the next picture and see. I just want. Okay, this is the southern wall, and the cool part about this, I think, is
I see the arches at one point.
the arches.
Like the doorways.
It's significant because the southern wall here looks out towards the Mount of Olives, I think.
Okay.
And the significance is the reason they're walled up. There are people that know that when Jesus returns, he's going to be coming to the city of Jerusalem, and he's supposed to enter the city through the southern gates.
So they don't want him coming back.
There are people that want to prevent that. They put walls. They sealed up the arches, the entryways into the city. And what we're looking at here are the stairs that would have led into the temple. And it's like if you were going to temple in those days, you would have climbed those stairs to get into the temple. And we sat there and we had a little lesson about the southern wall, and they showed us all that. Are we running out of time?
Yeah, we only have like 5 minutes left.
Oh no!
So we gotta kind of pick up the pace here.
Okay, let's go to. I would like you to go to 72. If you can go to picture 72, Jolie. Is that 72? I want go back one. Go back another. I want to see the. All right, so it must be further ahead. Let's go to 73. Okay, this is Golgotha. It's the place where Jesus would have been crucified. It's not on a hill far away like the song says. It's basically, if you look above, that's the old city walls. And Golgotha, it's called this place of the skull because it looks like eyes and a skull, a skull face. But and there's a lot of, like, they've moved a lot of material away from there. So it would have basically been outside of the city. And the Romans did that to, like, terrify the people. They would crucify people outside of the city all the time and to make people afraid of them. And when Jesus was crucified, it would have been right outside the city, not like away from where everybody was. It was meant to make a statement. So let's go to the next picture, number 74. Just brief. All right, this is the garden tomb. They feel that this is, based on the location of Golgotha and the location of this tomb, they know that it is very close in proximity. They feel that this is, at very best, a warm connection. This could very possibly be the tomb that he stayed in, that he was placed in. Let's go to the next picture. Okay, this is just another side wall, but if you look to the right of those boxes on the wall, you have to kind of look at it. There's a cross cut out of it, and that's a mark of the Christians. It would have been something, so that's another thing that they think is another point, that they think that this might be the tomb. So let's go to the next slide, next picture. Okay, there's another picture of the cross. Let's go to the next one. Another angle of the entryway to the tomb. And I think, let's go one more picture. And this is the group that we traveled with.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Now, is this, we talked earlier about like 2 tour buses full. Now, is this just like the non-students?
No, these are students. There's, let's see how many of us. There's 3 of us that are non-students in that picture. Myself, my pastor, and a friend of ours from church. The rest of them are all students, but they come to our church. So we were traveling in 2 groups, students and adults and guests. And then,
so these are like the local?
We're like this is our subgroup. These are people from my church that happen to be students. So we have, a nice group of kids that come from different parts of the country and everything, but this is our group, and they're a great group of kids. They're good kids.
Excellent.
So that's our trip to Israel.
Wow. Well, we still have a couple minutes
left. We still have
left.
some stuff.
We still have 2 minutes left. Now, wait. Okay. I'll leave the pictures alone. What was the biggest moment that came home with you? Not to put you on the spot.
There was so many. I don't know. As far as I think the Sea of Galilee, when we were above, I think it was Mount Arbel. When you can see, like, this is the place where the Great Commission was given.
Right.
And it was given to the disciples, but it's also given to any Christian. He's given that commission to everybody. So in that way, it was given to them there, but by being there, it kind of transferred a little bit of that. I mean, I know that is directed towards Christians nowadays as well, but actually being there and possibly kind of in a same spot, you're looking out where they would have been looking. This is their world, and we got to see that. So it's exciting.
Now, do you want to, when you go back?
Oh, we will go back.
Are there different areas that you really want to hit, or do you want to go back to these same places, or a mix of?
Well, I think they kind of hit the same areas every time they go, and it wouldn't upset me at all. I could see them. I could see them totally again. However many times I get to see them, it wouldn't be. I would never be bored. I'd always want to see them.
Now, one more thing, which is totally related but not related to the trip. Did you have any language barriers when you were there?
Not really. We didn't have to. Our tour guide, the guy from the Bible College, Dave Melton, he's the president of the college. He always travels with the kids. He studied in Israel. He knows the language. When we were getting ready to go into the wall to see the wall, he went in to talk to the guards and to arrange our trip, our visit. And he said that they told him that his Hebrew was rusty. He was trying, but he said it was rusty. So he made us let us know that they thought he was a little rusty.
Well, thank you very much. This was like really impressive. Now I want to go. But thank you very much for sharing the beauty of this trip, and hopefully everyone at home has enjoyed seeing this far-off land and making it feel a little closer to home. So have a wonderful evening, and thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you around town. Good night.